In at number 10, Mike Myers. Mike Myers had built himself quite the career with a successful run on Saturday Night Live that led to his character creations being adapted into movies like Wayne's World. Although when the actor starred as the cat in the film The Cat in the Hat, he was allegedly a nightmare to work with. His co-star Amy Hill spoke publicly about Mike's behavior, and she said he had his handlers dress his trailer and his area was all covered with tenting because he didn't want anyone seeing him. It was so weird. It was just the worst. I was miserable. I just thought it was really rude of him to not take us all into consideration.
A monster? Where? That could have gone better.
In at number 9, Bruce Willis. During a press run for his film Red 2, along with co-star Mary Louise Parker, Bruce was noticeably annoyed that he had to even answer the interviewer's questions. Jamie Edwards from Britain's Magic 105.4 actually called it the most awkward interview he's ever had. Apparently, Bruce was barely present while being interviewed, which led to this super cringe moment.
I told you this, Jamie. This part is not acting, what we're doing right now. You might be, but we're just selling the film now.
When asked which location he preferred while they were filming the movie, Bruce answered with Istanbul. The problem with that answer wasn't his dismissive tone, the problem was that the film never even filmed there. He just said a place he liked, making that poor reporter's job even more difficult as he tried to maintain his composure. In at number 8, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl seems to be the type of celebrity that says yes to every opportunity, and then when she regrets it later, she just openly bashes her decisions in the public eye. The first case of this happening was when she co-starred opposite Seth Rogen for the Judd Apatow film Knocked Up. Seth Rogen said at the time that he was having a great time while working with Heigl, and mainly because she was improvising a lot of her own stuff, which was great for the film. However, not too long after that, she did an interview with Vanity Fair and expressed just how much she hated the movie. Heigl said, "It was a little sexist. It paints the women as shrews, as humorless and uptight, and it paints the men as lovable, goofy, fun-loving guys. It exaggerated the characters, and I had a hard time with it on some days. I'm playing such a bitch. Why is she being such a killjoy? Why is this how you're portraying women? 98% of the time, it was an amazing experience, but it was hard for me to love the movie." Well, now it's hard for anyone to trust you, Katherine.
She had some commentary about Knocked Up after it came out.
What'd she say?
She didn't like it.
She didn't like it?
But she was so awesome in it, so it was confusing.
Yeah. In at number 7, Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer has legendary status for being one of the rudest and most difficult people to work with in Hollywood. Since the early 1980s, Kilmer was booking gigs left and right, plus he proved to be commercially viable with the major success of the film Batman Forever, which ended up booking him several more roles and perhaps adding to his bad reputation. While working on the movie The Island of Dr. Moreau, the director said Val would show up and an argument would happen almost immediately. John Frankenheimer ended up replacing that director after he only worked 3 days with the actor before being fired. Still, even John said, "I don't like Val Kilmer, I don't like his work ethic, and I don't want to be associated with him ever again." In at number 6, Beyonce.
Being a group as in Destiny's Child.
I'm sorry, but I answered this question already.
Oh, you did? Okay.
All right.
Beyond the shady looks that she used to give her background singers in Destiny's Child whenever they were off-key, Beyonce has also been known to invoke her diva status on more than one occasion. She's avoided eye contact with red carpet assistants and yelled at photographers for not getting her good side, and more recently sparked controversy at the Golden Globes. When it was announced that Joaquin Phoenix had won for Best Actor, everyone stood up. Everyone from Leonardo DiCaprio to the ever-so-rude Ellen DeGeneres. Although Beyonce was noticeably unamused by the announcement and just remained seated, even though she was literally right beside him. However, Twitter was quick to call her out for this. One person tweeted, "Sorry, but I don't think this is the type of energy anyone should be praised for. I don't know if there was another reason for her sitting, but the fact that she didn't stand with everyone else, especially during a standing ovation, is rude, point blank." In at number 5, Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen is the exact polar opposite of what you should do when pursuing a career in Hollywood. He carries with him a terrible offset and on-set reputation, and the debacle he went through in 2011 even led to his contract termination from the show 2.5 Men. For a while, he was all over the news for everything. Substance abuse, domestic violence, and even when he revealed that he was HIV positive. With his history of flying off the drop of a hat and trying to get people fired who speak ill of him, Sheen has had a very difficult time trying to rebuild his career. Also, there was the major shade thrown when Ashton Kutcher took his place on the show 2.5 Men. In at number 4, Madonna.
So someone who knows about sound better come up here and explain something to me. I'm waiting.
If you thought Beyonce was being a diva, well, who do you think she learned it from? Madonna is the queen of snide and crass remarks, some subtle and some just thrown right at you. When the star appeared on the Graham Norton show, she was blasted by viewers for the way that she interacted with Sir Ian McKellen. Graham Norton had asked if they had already met, and while Madonna couldn't remember, Ian described a very detailed encounter, to which Madonna barely even acknowledged. In fact, she looked very annoyed to even be on the show in the first place. There was also another very awkward moment when Madonna asked Ian what he does, even though he literally just told her that they were on the same show together once for a charity event in Los Angeles. How dare you disrespect Sir Ian McKellen? In at number 3, Michael Bay.
Crazy ability to put up with Michael Bay.
This has to be all grips on hand with this thing. It is not to move under the tail. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
All right, am I very clear? Yeah. Good.
Not only has director Michael Bay been referred to as a major sexist, but he's also worse than the most feared army general in the world. He treats his sets like a war zone and directs his staff like they are his subordinates that need to be put in their place. Not only that, but when you're filming with Michael Bay, you film on his time. He's been known to show up hours late for shoots, and then the moment that his feet touch the ground, it's just go, go, go from there. He wants everything done fast and leaves no room for joking around or contemplating anything, including how his staff may feel after he berated them for hours upon hours with harassing comments. In at number 2, Justin Bieber.
Fuck out the goddamn way, man. Damn.
Yes, that was Justin Bieber hitting a photographer in his exotic car, showing zero regard for human life. On top of that heinous video, the star has also been known to spit on people he doesn't like, which sometimes actually include his own fans. While staying at a hotel in Toronto with some friends, Justin took to his balcony where hundreds of people were desperately waiting outside to see a glimpse of the star, although he only emerged to hawk a loogie down towards them. After this disgusting act, the star seemed to be pleased with himself, turning to his group of admiring friends to laugh. His impressed friends then joined in as they all crowded around and took a selfie on his phone, clearly showing all of the people behind them that they just spit on. Gross. Last but certainly not least, on our number 1 spot, Shia LaBeouf.
They got cameras everywhere, you dummy. I got more millionaire lawyers than you know what to do with, you stupid. I'm from it, you dummy. Okay.
Aside from the way that he treats police officers when he's drunk, Shia has slowly established himself as the rudest man in Hollywood, especially after that debacle at the Academy Awards with his co-star Zach Gottsagen. While Zach was busy making history as the first person with Down syndrome to present an Academy Award, Shia was busy rushing the poor guy through his moment in the sun. Zach understandably had a difficult time doing the kind of back and forth dialogue with Shia LaBeouf, and fans noticed just how impatient the star seemed to be getting with him. One person took to Twitter to express her complaint, saying, "You're on a national stage and you look annoyed at your co-presenter? You're an actor, Shia LaBeouf. At least act like a decent human being." In at number 10, Mel Gibson.
I deserve to be first until I burn the house down. But me first.
What's even more disturbing is that what you just heard was the 4th phone call, and surprisingly enough, that one was the least aggressive out of all of them. The odd thing about Mel Gibson is that throughout the 80s and 90s, he was like a nice and well-respected leading actor. He was becoming well known for movies like Lethal Weapon, and some believe that his ego just started getting a little too big. These vicious voicemails were the result of a drinking problem combined with coping that he was no longer Hollywood's go-to guy. With that much pent-up anger and untreated mental illness, he was destined to be one of the rudest actors in the scene. In at number 9, Jon Hamm.
I have the nerve to not be in love with Jon Hamm.
What happened?
I just think he's like douchey. Like, I've known Hammy since he was a doctor on some Lifetime show.
Say what you will about Kathy Griffin, but I actually feel bad for her in this scenario. Here she is getting invited to an exclusive Hollywood dinner, getting to meet Jack Nicholson for the first time, only to have Jon Hamm right in her ear. No matter who you ask in Hollywood, most people will fawn over how much they adore Jon Hamm, yet Kathy has consistently upheld that he is one of the rudest celebrities that she's ever met. In her memoir, she wrote about how Hamm had repeatedly harassed her at a party for no reason whatsoever. While intoxicated, he called her old and topped it off by saying that her career was a failure. It's no wonder he worked so well as Don Draper in Mad Men, because that's actually who this celebrity embodies most. In at number 8, Christian Bale.
Da-da-da-da like this in the background. What the f***
is it with you?
When this tape leaked, Christian Bale not only had to go on a press tour for his new movie, but an apology tour as well. That Christian Bale rant had so many expletives in it, I was almost certain we wouldn't even be able to use the clip. While filming The Terminator Salvation, a crew member had accidentally walked onto the set, interrupting Bale while he was acting. This sent the celebrity into a downward spiral of anger where the F word suddenly became punctuation for his sentences. He nearly stopped all production on the movie just so that he could release his frustrations on the hard-working film crew. We get that some acting requires intense focus, but regardless, if someone breaks that focus, that doesn't give the actor license to scream at other people. They're humans too. In at number 7, Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones definitely gives off those vibes that he'd be a grumpy old man in real life, but don't take my word for it, listen to Joan and Melissa Rivers, who actually had to come into contact with him.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, no question.
He is at the top of everybody's lists.
Why?
Because he doesn't want to be there. He's unhappy doing the red carpet.
They've had direct interactions with the celebrity, and every time that they're asked this question, they put him as the worst to deal with. Joan has stated before that he acts like a snob because he went to Yale and therefore believes that he's better than everyone else. In at number 6, Sean Penn. Sean Penn is no stranger to letting his true colors shine bright. In 2009, he assaulted a paparazzi and vandalized his car, and he once served 60 days in jail for punching a background actor and had to do 300 hours of community service for kicking another photographer. And then in 2013, while he was at a restaurant in a swanky San Francisco hotel, he witnessed a guy trying to just take a photo of him and he freaked out again. Is Sean Penn secretly a vampire that doesn't want his soul removed from taking photos? Like, I honestly don't get it. I understand how this could become very annoying after a while, but it still doesn't excuse this kind of disruptive behavior. According to TMZ, he walked over and slammed the man's phone on the table before telling him that he would make him eat his phone. Then as he was being escorted out, he screamed, "Do we look like zoo animals?" Yikes. In at number 5, Jared Leto.
Big ups, man. Yeah, no.
What's your name?
Grinder.
Oh, okay.
Jared Leto certainly has had his awkward moments in the press and on stage, as you saw there. Upon looking into interactions with the celebrity, I found multiple articles about how he terrorized the cast and crew of Suicide Squad. He fully committed to the role of the Joker, and it was, well, nasty to say the least. He treated Margot Robbie as if she were Harley Quinn, so imagine that kind of daily dialogue. Plus, he sent her a rat as a gift. And before they even started filming, Leto decided to give everyone on set a gift. Sounds nice, but nope. Viola Davis witnessed the incident and said he did some bad things, Jared Leto did. He gave some really horrific gifts. He had a henchman who would come into the rehearsal room, and the henchman came in with a dead pig and plopped it on the table, and then he walked out. And that was our introduction to Jared Leto. In at number 4, Tobey Maguire. Looks like Tobey becoming Spider-Man was a terrible thing for his ego. Aside from having a terrible reputation with fans who just want autographs, Tobey's rude behavior has even been documented in the memoir called Molly's Game, which was later then turned into a movie with Jessica Chastain. The author Molly Bloom said that Tobey actually offered her a $1,000 poker chip at a high-stakes game in 2014. But there was a catch. She said Maguire told her to bark like a seal. And when she refused, she said Maguire told her, "I'm not kidding. What's wrong? You're too rich now? You won't bark for $1,000? Geez, can't get ruder than that. Or can we?" In at number 3, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Catherine Zeta-Jones apparently really did a number on a young fan of hers way back, and it truly is unforgivable. The woman remembers going to an advanced screening of The Mask of Zorro when she was only 8 years old, and she actually had a chance to interact with Catherine, and she excitedly told the star that she wanted to be an actress as well. The woman then said, "She turned to me, looked me up and down, and said, 'You're pretty enough, I suppose,' then went back to her conversation." The woman went on to claim that in many ways that moment was the turning point when she went from feeling at ease in the world to constantly thinking about how everyone was judging her based on her appearance. Damn it, Zeta-Jones. In at number 2, Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell is a comedian and known for crossing the line a few times, even as she worked as a host for The View. Unfortunately for Rosie, she never really learned to kind of turn off that rude behavior, that attack dog style commentary, and especially when it came to her personal life. According to reports, the reason why she was fired from The View was due to multiple people on set saying that she was far too mean to finish the season with. That was in 2007 and meant that she wouldn't even complete the first season of the show. Rosie did eventually return back to the program later on, but promised that she would be a much calmer version. However, that comeback only lasted 5 months after she released her contract to focus on her family following a divorce with her husband. Entertainment Tonight had interviewed some of the staff that worked with O'Donnell, and here's what they found. O'Donnell, who has a reputation as a demanding and sometimes abrasive boss, didn't feel like her actor's strengths were being properly used by ABC, according to those close to the 52-year-old comedian. Adding to the problem, there was also tensions with co-host Whoopi Goldberg and behind-the-scenes executive turmoil as well, which recently shifted to management under ABC News. Rosie confirmed, to be rude. Last but certainly not least, on our number one spot, Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase is without a doubt a legendary comedic actor, but all those pratfalls he did in his youth must have really turned him into a grumpy old man. He has earned himself perhaps the worst reputation in Hollywood just from being extremely difficult to work with. I mean, when it works, but most of the time he is a huge pain. When actor and comedian Rob Huebel met Chevy at the Upright Citizens Brigade show, he was so excited that he accidentally interrupted a conversation that he was in. Rob was a longtime fan and just couldn't contain his joy, but Chevy responded by slapping him in the face and then said, "Can't you see I'm talking to somebody, kid?"
At number 10, Julia Roberts. Even though Julia Roberts seems like a nice person, it turns out that she's a nightmare on set. Ironically, she's almost always cast as nice and endearing characters, but there's seemingly much more to Julia than meets the eye. Apparently, she's known to have a pretty bad attitude on set, which can make working with her an unpleasant experience. In 1991, on the set of the Peter Pan film Hook by Steven Spielberg, Julia earned the on-set nickname Tinkerhell as a play on her character Tinkerbell. She earned this moniker based on the production staff's perception of the actress. Apparently, during filming, she would constantly show up to set late, and even when she was on set, she would lock herself in her trailer for hours on end. She also reportedly treated people badly, and she would never apologize for her mean actions or behavior. Julia was truly the opposite of the pixie she was playing. At number 9, Mike Myers. Does anyone else remember the Cat in the Hat live action film from 2003 starring Mike Myers? I certainly do. It was very cringy, but in a good way, since I was a kid back then and I found everything unbelievably hilarious. I enjoyed that movie as a kid, but one person who didn't enjoy it was the Cat in the Hat himself, Mike Myers. After the success of Austin Powers, Mike was set to bump up his comedy and star in a production based on one of his old characters. But before that was all carried out, the actor and the studio got into some debates and there was legal trouble. It was all just unnecessary drama. Well, they both ended up reaching an agreement and it obligated Mike to star in the Cat in the Hat movie. He never wanted to sign up for that and he really made it known how badly he didn't want to be there. According to people who worked with him on set, during filming of the Cat in the Hat, Mike was very rude and dismissive and he refused to talk to anyone. He became a hermit and a diva apparently, and this whole experience and subsequent film were all so bad that Dr. Seuss's widow said that she would never allow Hollywood to make another movie based on one of Seuss's books again. At number 8, Kanye West. Most people see Kanye West as a little too extra. He's caused scandals like his VMA interruption with Taylor Swift, his comments about George W. Bush, as well as many other instances that have just rubbed people the wrong way. To add to that, he's reportedly very hard to work with. During filming of Anchorman 2, Kanye came on set for a brief appearance in the film, and though he played a small part, he left a big impression on the cast and crew, and it wasn't positive. Apparently, after Kanye wrapped on set, he refused to leave. He could have just gone home after he finished his scenes, but he decided to stick around. That's fine if you want to stay and watch other people's performances, but that's not exactly what Kanye did. Instead, he hung around set blasting music so loudly that it disrupted filming. People tried to get him to just leave, but he wouldn't. I think it's safe to say that if a third Anchorman movie were to happen, Kanye just would not be welcomed back. At number 7, Lea Michele. Lea Michele was exposed in 2020 for her Hollywood mean streak and for her terrible on-set behavior. This all came out following a tweet from former Glee co-star Samantha Ware, where she let the world know how horrible it was to work with Lea. The actress is now described as, quote, callous, rude, mean, and even a diva. But following Samantha's exposure of the Broadway star, other people have come forward with their own testimonies regarding Lea and her mean streak. There have been stories of Lea's microaggressions, but also stories of her spitting in craft service food that she doesn't like, refusing to work with people because they didn't know her middle name, requesting reshoots because she didn't like her costume, disrespecting other castmates, and having crew members apologize on her behalf, and so many other frustrating tidbits that just really show how rude and entitled she's been known to be. No one wants to work with her after learning about how much of a nightmare she can be on set. Before we carry on talking about the celebrities who are just the worst people to work with on set, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 6, Emma Roberts. Emma Roberts has had quite a few on-set feuds with co-stars. She's had drama with Gabrielle Sidibe, Ariana Grande, and Evan Peters, but the biggest feud that she's had was with Lea Michele Michelle on the set of Scream Queens. According to sources, Emma Roberts and Lea Michele had one strong attribute in common, and that was the fact that they were both divas, so while they were working together, they butt heads with each other quite often. Apparently, their fighting got so bad while filming, actress Jamie Lee Curtis had to step in and mediate the hostile situation between Emma and Lea because she was so fed up with their constant bickering while they were trying to work. It was also reported that the actresses would constantly have mean girl moments, making rude and catty comments towards each other almost daily. Rumors of this feuding between them were pretty common in entertainment news while Scream Queens was still in production, showing that things never really died down between the two actresses. It seemed like Emma just caused a heck of a lot of drama with a lot of people on set. At number 5, Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf has really been going through it in Hollywood. He kind of has a bad reputation now because of the conflicts that he's been in, the latest of which got him fired from a movie. Because of his bad attitude and clashes on set, the actor was fired by Olivia Wilde from the upcoming film Don't Worry Darling. It was announced in late fall of 2020 that Harry Styles would be replacing Shia in the film, and now we know that it was due to Shia's alleged bad behavior, as people have cited that the actor was, quote, not an easy guy to work with. It was alleged that there was some kind of conflict between him and Olivia Wilde as well, and the fact that other cast and crew members didn't like working with him, Shia was let go. Getting fired is always a negative thing, but in Hollywood, when a lot of your work involves other relationships with other actors and having connections, having a bad experience that was enough to get you fired can ultimately burn that bridge and result in you having less work. At number 4, Ben Stiller. A lot of people think of Ben Stiller as this super funny guy in Hollywood, but just because someone seems great in the public eye doesn't mean that's how they really are behind closed doors. It seems as though Ben Stiller is a nightmare in disguise because he's a tough guy to work with and he causes a lot of trouble on set. People who know or have worked with Ben in the past have exposed some of his bad behavior on set, and it's kind of shocking. According to those who worked with him on the set of the film Tropic Thunder, he was very controlling and mean to just about everyone there. He even reportedly had a meltdown on set when someone brought him his Diet Coke and it didn't have exactly 2 ice cubes in it. He even had someone fired because they didn't put enough sugar in his coffee. On top of that, Ben even forced his assistant to stand out in the parking lot in his designated parking space, even though it already had a sign saying that it was reserved. And to make matters even more hectic, Ben also freaked out on a female assistant he had, going so far as to refuse to come back to set until she was replaced by a male assistant. If all of this madness happened on just one film set, who knows what other shenanigans have gone on elsewhere with him. At number 3, Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase is known for being in National Lampoon and the show Community, but is also known around Hollywood as being kind of a jerk and starting drama with the people that he works with. There are a bunch of articles, books, and interviews of people talking about their experiences with the actor and how mean he can be. There are even stories in the book Live from New York that detail the times Chase has been mean to staff, writers, interns, and other hosts. Will Ferrell and Bill Murray are among those who have taken a disliking to Chase because of the way that he's treated others. Will Ferrell has said that he doesn't like Chevy because of the way that he treats some female staff members, and Bill Murray and Chevy Chase even got into a brawl backstage of SNL back in the day, where they said some pretty hurtful things to each other because they were kind of comedy rivals on the show. Chevy just doesn't get along with everyone, and he said it's because his fame went to his head, but something tells me that's not the only reason why he starts drama. At number 2, Bill Murray. Bill Murray already has a pretty bad reputation in Hollywood for his poor on-set behavior, so it's no surprise to me to find out that he's had some serious drama with one of his castmates on the set of Charlie's Angels. While filming the movie, Bill Murray was said to have antagonized actress Lucy Liu. When watching the film, you'd think that they were all good friends and on good terms, but in reality, that was quite the opposite. The film set was sort of a hostile environment that caused Bill to take a disliking towards Lucy. Turns out Bill would insult Lucy's talent and acting ability, and on one occasion even said, quote, "I get why you're here, you've got talent, but what in the hell are you doing here? You can't act." Apparently the harassment and bullying got so bad at one point that Lucy tried throwing punches at Bill during one scene because his insults got so bad. This antagonizing went on for the entire duration of the production, and Bill kept on berating Lucy about her presence on set and calling her unprofessional as well. This drama was just so unnecessary. And finally, at number 1, Sharon Osbourne. Talk show host Sharon Osbourne faced a lot of backlash last year after making comments about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Sharon and her former co-host Cheryl Underwood got into a pretty heated argument surrounding Piers Morgan's remarks on Meghan Markle. During this feud, Sharon backed up Pierce's comments about Meghan Markle's mental health, and this really frustrated a lot of people because many felt as though what was being said was going a little too far. As a result of the remarks that Sharon made, she was called a racist, and a number of other accusations came out about how she's used various slurs in the past when talking about her other co-hosts on the show. As a result of this, the network that they worked for launched an internal investigation to look into the allegations against Sharon, and that ended with Sharon being let go from the show. Before we wrap things up for today, I want you guys to leave a comment down below telling me which celebrity you would never want to work with and why. I want to know who you think would be the worst person to partner up with, so leave me your thoughts down in the comments. At number 10, Gwyneth Paltrow. A lot of people seem to really dislike Gwyneth Paltrow for some reason. Though she's never really done anything horrible to people directly, it is alleged that she's so disliked in Hollywood because she comes off as pretty pretentious, egotistical, and privileged. People don't really see Gwyneth as the average person or as someone that they can relate to, which a lot of people seem to find off-putting. The Goop founder seems to like flaunting her wealth and materialistic things and makes it seem like it's something that everyone else has or can afford. For example, her Goop website's list of must-have clothing pieces and other things include things that cost hundreds if not thousands of dollars, which not a lot of people can relate to having. On top of that, she came from a wealthy family, so being someone who's always been rich, she doesn't really know how to humble herself around those who haven't been as fortunate as her. People also don't like how she comes across as self-centered, as she seems to always talk about herself and how fit she is and how great her lifestyle is. She also has a diva attitude. She's been known to slam Michelin star restaurants, and if you know what that means, then you know she's got an attitude to do something like that. And to make matters worse, she's been known to demand that people clean and dry the shower at the gym after someone's used it because she, quote, can't touch somebody else's shower water. Yeah. She just has a lot of diva energy and can come across as quite rude, so I can understand why not everyone wants to be her friend. At number 9, James Corden. A lot of people don't like James Corden. Celebrities and regular old Joes like you and me just can't seem to get along with the late night host, and there's a few reasons for this. Turns out that he's actually pretty mean in real life, and this persona that you see on TV is all just an elaborate ruse. In reality, James is arrogant, rude, and a huge diva. There are a bunch of stories that paint James as a mean person. Firstly, he was once part of a group of people who advocated for paying late night writers less money. Yeah, you heard that right. He's also been known to use a good old "do you know who I am" line quite a number of times, and he's even reportedly told someone that he could buy them if they didn't do what he wanted. There's a lot of problematic energy to unpack there, but that is a whole other video. On top of that, there's been incidents of fans catching James being mean to his wife and letting his temper get the best of him at times. A lot of people say that he only acts nice in order to butt kiss his way to the top, and he doesn't care who he takes down in the process. But I think people are starting to catch on to this ruse because more and more people are starting to dislike him. Just ask Twitter. At number 8, Jennifer Lopez. This probably doesn't come as a shock to many, but it turns out that J-Lo isn't very nice. A lot of people have said that she's a real diva, and others say that she's just plain rude, and she's done a number of things that have rubbed people the wrong way. Apparently, the singer/actress is very picky about who may or may not speak to her, and for those permitted to address her, they're not allowed to make eye contact. There have even been reports that she flat out refuses to comply with scripts. This has happened on a few occasions, most notably during filming for a Fiat commercial where they needed to hire a double for Jennifer simply because she just didn't want to do certain things for the shoot. On top of that, she doesn't have a good reputation with a lot of people who's worked with her either. She's said to have completely ignored the people who are remodeling her house. She's gotten a cleaning lady fired for having asked for an autograph, and she even refuses to talk to in-flight staff and pilots on flights and instructs her assistant to talk to them for her. And to make matters worse, even though her staff do so much for her, including communicating for her, they don't get paid very much for their time. Even though she may seem super cool on the surface, she's a little sour in real life. At number 7, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey isn't the nicest person ever. She's had several run-ins with the paparazzi, which have not gone over well. She's had some pretty bad relationships with others, and she's known for being a complete and utter diva. But there's one incident in particular that really just exposes how mean Mariah can be. There was a lawsuit from one of Mariah's former assistants, which accused her of a number of horrible things. The former assistant alleged that the singer peed on her, ridiculed her body, and called her a handful of pretty rude names. Her former assistant said that she was hired by the singer to be on call 24/7 and assisted both Mariah and her manager at the time. Though she was paid a salary of $250,000 a year, this wage couldn't cover up the horrible things that she was put through by Mariah. But her case wasn't the only one up against the singer at the time. While this case was being disputed, Mariah had just settled one with her former manager who cited breach of contract, harassment, and unpaid wages. Just because you pay people a lot of money doesn't mean you get to treat them like trash. Now before I carry on with the list, I would like to take a moment to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, because your likes really help to support the channel and we love to see it. At number 6, Amy Schumer. It seems like Amy Schumer doesn't really care about what people think of her. In a way that can be a good thing because you learn to live your life for yourself, but it can also give you an attitude and prevent you from thinking about your actions and how they can impact others. An example of this comes from an incident from back in 2018 where Amy full-on stole a comedian's stand-up set. Amy was at a comedy club and up on stage, and an up-and-coming comedian was doing one of his first long sets, and obviously this was a pretty big deal for the guy until Amy ruined it. She walked into the venue and went to the manager to ask if she could steal 10 minutes of stage time because she wanted to practice her new set. Because the other comedian just started on stage, the manager said no, so Amy hit back with the "but I'm Amy Schumer." Like that's really gonna do something. After getting refusals left and right, she decided to take matters into her own hands and marched up on the stage and just took over his time for a few minutes. I know Amy is a big timer, but come on, you have to remember what it was like to be up and coming, and that kind of behavior is just rude. At number 5, Katherine Heigl. A lot of people don't like Katherine Heigl because of how rude she is. She's known in the film industry for being pretty mean and having a diva attitude. She's allegedly mean to people on set, has high demands, and just has a very bad overall attitude. She's known to be quite critical of her roles and the material that she's given to work with, and she even said this when she withdrew from the Emmy nominations because she said that the material she was given for Grey's Anatomy didn't warrant an Emmy. That is certainly disrespectful to the writers, because for someone to say something like that implies that the writing wasn't good enough to please people, whereas the people at the Emmys thought it was worth an award. And on top of that, winning this kind of award looks good for the team, but Katherine obviously didn't think of that. She only thought about herself. The actress is known to make ridiculously high salary demands, and she's apparently been doing this since before she became a big name in the industry. She's reportedly hired and fired a lot of publicists and assistants over the years, so she really sounds like quite the diva and a horrible boss too. Because of all this, directors and Hollywood execs just don't want to work with her anymore, and honestly I can't really say that I blame them. At number 4, Michael Phelps. Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps is often referred to as the best swimmer of all time, but it seems like his aquatic skills are really the only thing he's got going for him, since apparently he's got a pretty bad attitude and is pretty rude in real life. Michael has done some bad stuff in his life, so people already don't think that highly of him as an individual. Back in 2014, he was arrested for driving under the influence, and speaking of under the influence, Phelps has also been caught with drugs before. Already, this isn't good for his image because being an Olympian, people have a lot of eyes on you. Phelps was reprimanded for his drunk driving and was suspended from swimming for 6 months, but other than that, this scandal was kept pretty under wraps. Now if only they could have put that much energy into Sha'Carri Richardson. On top of this swimmer being a felon, he's also known to not be a team player. Apparently he hides himself away from his other teammates when at competitions like the Olympics instead of being with his team to support them. You would think that being at something like the Olympics, you would want to soak up all that team spirit, but no. Michael wants nothing to do with his team and instead flies solo. Kind of mean if you ask me. At number 3, Jared Leto. You may like Jared Leto on screen, but off screen he's kind of a jerk. There's even a list online that tallies up all the reasons that make him a bad person. And if something like that exists, then you know something's up. Some of the reasons listed as to why Jared sucks so much include the fact that he's been caught being mean to fans, he's rude to reporters during interviews, and he's offended the trans community after winning an Oscar for his performance in Dallas Buyers Club and not mentioning the trans community in his speech, as well as undermining the struggles of the trans community after joking about his appearance in character. Jared has also admitted to lying during interviews whenever possible for absolutely no reason, and people found his Joker antics on the set of Suicide Squad to be a little mean because of the pranks that he would play on people as well as the gifts that he would send to the cast and crew. Most of the allegations against Jared and his attitude are pretty minor, but add them all up and you get someone that you might not necessarily enjoy having around. But what do you guys think? You still want to be his friend? At number 2, Christina Aguilera. Christina Aguilera may have the voice of an angel, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she is one. Turns out she has a bit of a dark side, and a handful of people have experienced it. Other than being shady at Lady Gaga during their 2008 feud, where she called her some unpleasant names and said, quote, "I'm not quite sure who this person is, to be honest, I don't know if it's a man or a woman," end quote. She's also had some other rude encounters with more of her peers. When working on the set of her various gigs, she's reportedly always late, holds up production, and never apologizes for delaying production. She also reportedly has some beef with Adam Levine while working on The Voice, and they would bicker constantly. Christina is also known to be an absolute diva, and working with her seems to be a nightmare because sources say that she's very rude and demanding of her household staff and treats her staff poorly, insisting that they are on call 24/7. Christina also has had feuds with Pink, Mariah Carey, and even got mad at Mickey Mouse once. Yeah, she got into a heated argument with Mickey Mouse when she was at Disneyland in 2014 for her birthday. She wanted to take a picture with the mouse, but he was going on break, so instead of being an understanding person, she pulled the "Do you know who I am" card. I mean, how can you do that to Mickey? What did Mickey do? And finally, at number 1, Bruce Willis. Actor Bruce Willis has had a great career making great movies and basking in fame, but it seems as though he's not all that great in real life. Apparently, Bruce is a nightmare to work with as he's gotten into a number of conflicts with others on set, and people just really hate working with him. Before Die Hard launched his film career, he was brought into stardom after working on the show Moonlighting alongside his co-star Sybil Shepherd. Back in 2005, Shepherd told sources that there came a point where her relationship with Bruce became really toxic and they clashed a lot on set. There was reportedly constant bickering and it was just a really bad working environment. But of course, Sybil isn't the only one to have clashed with Bruce while working together. Filmmaker Kevin Smith has also had his troubles working with Bruce while filming the 2010 film Cop Out. He told sources that though he once saw Bruce as his hero in past productions, that opinion completely went out the window, saying that working with Bruce was difficult. When speaking out about their time together on set, Kevin said, quote, "He turned out to be the unhappiest, most bitter, and meanest emo B-word I've ever met at any job I've held down, and mind you, I worked at Domino's Pizza. What an awful experience," end quote. Now I just wonder if something triggers this horrible behavior or if he's just always like this.